Welcome to the Beautifully Booked podcast, where we talk all things spa and massage. Adina Wagner and Alicia Crook are like-hearted businesswomen that connected from across the globe to collaborate on all things beauty, body, and business. They now work with business owners all over the world to run better businesses, make more money, and most importantly, live life on their terms. By sharing the highs and lows of their work and lives and offering insights from their hands-on business experience, this show will deep dive into the successes and struggles of the spa and massage industry. Now, here are your hosts, Adina and Alicia.
My name is Adina Wagner, and I'm a licensed esthetician and business coach who helps beauty biz practitioners go from stressed to six-figure success.
Hi, my name is Alicia Crook. I'm a radial massage therapist and business coach specifically for the massage industry. I ran a massage clinic for 16 years, making mistakes and learning from them along the way. I'm a published author and now work with massage therapists all over the world to become fully booked without getting burnt out.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. We are so excited to have you here on today's podcast. Hey, Alicia, how are you?
I'm so good. I'm so excited to be talking all things outsourcing today.
Me too. This is one of those lessons where we kind of maybe each of us can share how we had to learn the hard way. And when we outsourced, not only did we have more balance and freedom in our lives, but we also were able to stay in our zones of genius and make more money. Yay!
Yay! Always a good thing. This is what we want.
Absolutely. If it's okay with you, one of the things that I wanted to start with, and I'm really surprised at how many spa owners or even solopreneurs, I should say, that one thing that they don't do that I'm really proud of myself, that it only took me 6 months in business to figure this out, was to outsource my laundry. Did you end up like me, where you had kids and you were taking home garbage bags with, the little drawstrings over both my shoulders, taking them? And I had my own laundry to do. I had a 2-year-old at home, right? I had an 8-year-old and a husband and a dog. And so last thing I wanted to do is my own laundry, but hey, I would sure as heck show up and do my salon spa's laundry because we had to have those clean towels and sheets and things like that. But dragging those sheets and towels in these hefty sized garbage bags back and forth, kid you not, having my 8-year-old, hey, honey, will you please help mommy fold these towels? Teaching her how to fold the towels for me so I could get them all done and back to work the next day. That's just one of those things where I said, enough is enough. What do I have to do to outsource and hire a laundry person? And I did. I just hired a fluff and fold person that happened to be in the neighborhood. But I'm so surprised, Alicia, I don't know if you've heard of people that you've worked with. They're just kind of like, no, I do my own towels, or I do my own this, or I do my that, and I can't afford it. But I'm thinking the time that I'm spending washing, switching over, folding, carrying it to the car, to the house, back into the car, back to the spa, putting it away. I mean, let's say that's just a total, if you had to clock it off and on a stopwatch, maybe that's 2 hours of your life. That's 2 clients, possibly, depending on what service you're doing. Maybe that's 1. The point is, and then they're able to buy products and upsell and rebook. You may have been saying no to a laundry service or a fluff and fold or someone who can do that for you for very minimally. You may have been saying no to maybe a few $100s.
Look, it's crazy.
By you doing it, by you seeing someone, by you seeing a client, I mean.
And I think I think, first of all, for me, it was about value, struggling to value myself to be able to go, because I can just put my massage towels around my neck as my cape and stick my undies on the outside and get everything done. Yeah. Like I am Superwoman. Yes. Hear me roar. I couldn't possibly outsource, get somebody else to do a job I don't want to do, because I was, at the start I was like, oh yeah, but I can just do it all myself. And I wasn't making money and all that kind of stuff. And I got to a point where I'm like, well, I can't. It was when I had my kids, that's when I outsourced, because I'm like, well, I physically don't know when or how I can get down to the clinic to get the towels to bring them home to wash. So we had a laundry service that would pick them up and drop them back a couple of days later. And I was like, oh, actually, it's not as expensive as I thought. And they used to, so that at the start they would wash our towels. And then I'm like, why? You guys have towels, and I can, for a little bit more per wash, I can actually get you guys to wash my towels. And then I get those gorgeous white ones that you have at, at a hotel. Like, this is awesome. At one point we were seeing so many clients that we were paying as much in laundry as we were in rent. And that's when I decided that was no longer a good option for me, because I'm like, far out. This is now the power of scale was wonderful. You're seeing 100 clients a week. That's a lot of linen. And so we ended up buying our towels again. So we went, I had to invest in a couple of $1,000 and get the towels back again. But then we actually just put it onto a community Facebook group and said, hey, would anyone be willing to wash my towels at this price? And I ended up finding a mum who was at home with a baby and was kind of a bit bored and wanted some cash. And she was able to give me a receipt. And so she would, a couple of times a week, do a load and drop them back and up and back. And that got a bit boring. She didn't like it. That's great. So she quit, and then we replaced her within 24 hours using the same method. So it doesn't actually have to cost very much money. I think maybe we were paying $150 a week when we had someone else doing it, and it was amazing and awesome. And honestly, one of the first things that you should absolutely outsource and look at how you can make it happen. And I think it's what you were saying, Adina, that, rather than going, oh my gosh, I couldn't possibly afford it. It's like, well, how much is this taking me, and how many more treatments could I do if I was not having to have the responsibility of these towels? Because it's amazing. There is nothing better than rocking up to work with a whole stack of brand new, fresh, beautifully folded towels, and all you have to do is put them away or roll them, and they're on the shelf. They look amazing, and it didn't take your energy. It's so good.
Absolutely. And it's funny, it's like having been in business for over a decade and knowing that it only took me 6 months to kind of get that thick lesson through my head, I had a decision to make, and I never missed the money that I thought I would miss by having someone else do it for me. But when you talked about the word, what it costs you, it really made me think of something that I think our listeners and our viewers will resonate with if they happen to be like us, moms. And so a lot of times we put a value on cost. A lot of times we put a value on money. What's it costing us to pay this company to either A, get their sheets and towels from their linen company delivered to us, which I've tried that. I did that for a while. And then I ended up like you at some point, it made more sense to just literally, for me, I went to IKEA or even Costco, and you can get the massive packs of towels. I don't know if it's 10 or 24 white ones, and just buy them in bulk, so to speak, from Costco or IKEA. And then, a company would come and take my towels and my sheets and wash them, fold them, and bring them back for me. But when I talk about cost, I really just felt like what I wanted to share was, what is it really costing us when we're finally home after working all day, giving our heart and our soul to our clients. And now for those first 6 months in business, I'm at home, but I'm not giving my children the time, the attention that they need and deserve, because I'm standing by the wash machine and the dryer and by, the kitchen table folding everything, so to speak. I don't know if I use the kitchen table, but that's the example, is I'm home, but I'm not present because I'm wasting half an hour here, 30 minutes here, 10 minutes here, waiting for the buzzer to go off, when it's costing me that valuable time of being with my kids, which is why I said and promised myself I was going to go in business anyway, is to be able to have more time with them, and then making a conscious decision to do something like you said, your super cape over you. I can do it all. Hear me roar. I can't afford it. I'm not going to hire someone to do it. I'll just do it myself. I just want our viewers to know, hey, we've been there, we get it, but just really start to weigh the pros and cons. Maybe we'll get a message from you guys after this. I finally hired someone to do my laundry. Yay! Because I realize it is costing me time, that I am already working 8-10 hours in my business, and I'm already putting another 2 hours at home, or I should be working on my marketing or whatever other stuff that's way more important than you spending time on laundry, or can make you way more money than doing laundry. So that was awesome.
We've outsourced. We've gone, that's it. I'm not doing it. Strong independent women ask for help. I've asked for help. I've gotten someone to do my laundry. Great. What's the next thing we should outsource?
Gosh, that's a good question. One of the things that took me a lot of time to do, and I thought, well, how much am I paying this woman to come and clean my spa? Let's say, it's $150. I don't know what it was back then, but throwing out that number, well, maybe for me, that's just one facial, right? And so either I'm going to pay her to do it or me, but then that facial, let's say, turns into an upsell. So now it's a more lucrative facial. And then she wants to buy 5 products, right? Because we teach our clients 3 bottles per butt. So offer at least 3 bottles, and you'll sell at least 1 or 2, better than 0, right? Which will up your hourly a cost per client. I'm not your cost per client, your average sales ticket, right? And so one of the things that I did was, and it just became like I could not live without her, was having a regular person come and clean my place. I had her for maybe 8 years and trusted her so much. I gave her the key. She even came to clean my house. So she was my housekeeper and my office spa keeper for the entire time. No one could clean like this woman. I love her and I miss her dearly now that I'm in a new state. But that is one thing I would say for myself personally, besides laundry, is having someone do all the deep cleaning every 2 weeks or every 4 weeks at your spa. And your only job is to keep up with maintenance, maybe with a Swiffer, wet or dry Swiffer, and some light dusting and those kind of things, and go from there. So what are your thoughts about that? What is something you couldn't live without?
Look, I think for me, so at the clinic that I had, our receptionist was responsible for our cleaning. So she would come in 1 hour earlier once a week to do all the vacuuming because that was noisy, toilets, all that kind of stuff. And they would get done again, throughout the week. So that was, in terms of the clinic, we outsourced through hiring an administration person that was responsible for that. But I think that getting a house cleaner is something that I think it saves marriages, it saves breakdowns. It is just one of the most incredibly beautiful and wonderful things on earth. Now, when I very first was like, someone said to me, oh, you should get a housekeeper. I was like, but why? I can do it all myself. Like, why would I have someone else come in? And then my next thought was, I followed that up with, oh, yeah, but only rich people do that. And I'm like, wow, like so many interesting weeds that we've spoken about before that were coming up for me. And so I started getting a housekeeper when my kids were toddlers, once a fortnight. And she would come in for 2 hours. It cost me $25 an hour, cash in hand. And we could, at the time, we could afford $50 a fortnight. That was a stretch at the time. I wasn't working full time. James was, and he was supporting, me to have as much time with the kids as we could. And I remember just going to him. I remember going to James. Oh my God, check out the shower. Oh, it's so beautiful. And look at this. And it's all clean. And it's all tidy. And he just looked at me like, yeah, what? And I thought, oh, that's what you experience whenever I clean the house. Like, wow. Like it had never occurred to me, not that he took it for granted, but he kind of took it for granted because this is what he saw. And it was like this massive weight got lifted off. And like I said, I could vacuum in between times. I could, do a couple of toilets here and there. Like that was fine. But I didn't feel like I had to ignore my kids for 3 hours every now and again and completely clean the whole house. And it was like my brain just went, oh, that's so good. And we now have a cleaner that comes she still comes once a fortnight, but we have a much bigger house and I wish it was $50 a fortnight, but I'm so happy to pay what I would pay them every single fortnight to come in and clean the whole house top to bottom because we work from home as well. So where we live gets tidied and I don't have to actually do it. Just like, this kind of sounds a bit crass, but just because I have ovaries doesn't mean I should be vacuuming. Like we both work in this business equally as much. So James actually does all the cooking in our house and he does all the shopping and I manage the laundry and, it's great. It works really well for us. But yeah, I think that it's worth talking about getting a cleaner, particularly if you have a relationship where one of you is clean and one of you is messy. You've got to figure that out. And that doesn't mean that one of you, the messy one, has to do the cleaning. It can just mean that you can outsource that in your home as well.
Absolutely. That's so funny that you guys did that because we've had a housekeeper probably since I would say at least 14 years because my daughter's now in college. But I remember having a conversation when I had those mindset gremlins about, oh, only rich people do that. And you kind of get to that mindset, oh, I can't afford it. Like that's so much money. That could be our whatever, something else that you want. So you have those mindset gremlins or limiting beliefs of, in order to have this, I have to give up this, right? And so one of the first things that this is, years ago, wanted to give up was our housekeeper. Because in our relationship, I'll be totally, totally honest. Sean's the cleanie and I'm the messy. And it doesn't mean I'm a pig. It doesn't mean anything like that. I'm not a pigsty. And the place where I show up like umpteenth to the clean OCD is in my spa treatment room. And the rest of the house stays clean. People are always like, oh my gosh, your house is so clean. But my bedroom becomes the fallback catch-all. Like everything else will look great. But when we had this conversation of, honey, I really think we should give up the housekeeper, he literally said to me, and I was probably like, you're the first person. And this is when we were like really struggling financially, let's say, 14 years ago. He said, I would rather give up cable than have the housekeeper not come. Because otherwise he and I would be trying to figure out who's going to do what in the house. We're both working full time. We're both having children, taking care of the kids. There's just something that has to give. And so what you say absolutely resonates with me. Having a housekeeper is literally a way to save your marriage, your relationship. And you know what? There's nothing that feels so good and smells so good after she's gone. She was just here. Our person was just here. We have 4,000 square feet. So I have her now coming every 2 weeks, right? I used to be once a month. And now it's just, I need it every 2 weeks. Because by that fourth week, we're like itching. We're like, is she coming? What day? My husband's literally texting me, what day, what time is she coming? So it just feels so good. And you guys were able to just focus on our family instead of spending all day Saturday cleaning. I've had these conversations with our coaching clients and I'm like, you've been working 10-hour days. Why would you want to have, you have a 16-year-old son, for example, true story, master cosmetologist she's tripled her income now in her salon space, but she was using her Saturdays to deep clean her house. And I said, no, that is one of the things that you have to, if you want to have that 6-figure mindset, is you have to delegate, you have to outsource, and you have to stop cleaning your house. And it becomes a must. It becomes something that you look forward to, and you're willing to give up cable if you have to.
Absolutely. So once we've outsourced our laundry, we've outsourced our cleaning. Let's talk a bit about social media and the ways that we can get other things done in our business. That again means we don't have to physically be there getting it done.
Absolutely. This one's really simple. A lot of times, again, you and I, we know our coaching clients feel like, oh, I have to do it all, or I'm really picky, or all the excuses I hear, like I'm a perfectionist. No one's going to do my social media like me. Honestly, consistency is key. Your clients just want to see you, know you, like you, trust you. They want to think about you. So one of the easiest ways that they could outsource is just literally on Fiverr. If they type in social media, there's different levels. There's some really cheap people and there's some, kind of expensive people. I would say, a good price range maybe be, a few hundred or higher a month, that someone just makes your 20 or 30 posts. You have to post them, or you pay a little bit more and they will post for you. But there are different levels of how many posts you want them to create. You've got to give them some leadership, some guidance, some parameters. And then also from there, they will, create more about with your brand and what the things you want to talk about or what you're trying to sell. But definitely outsourcing social media on Fiverr is one that we recommend to our coaching clients. What would you say about social media, Alicia?
We did again, if I go back to our receptionist. So, and I love what you said about having the standard first, because it can be really easy to abdicate. And I think the difference between outsourcing with excellence and abdication, which is basically I am going to forego the responsibility for that job to get someone else to do it because it's not mine. It's very different to saying, I know that this is not my area of genius. Like, laundry is a bit different, but when it comes to social media, I just don't get that, and I'll just get someone else to do it. But you have no idea if they're doing a good enough job or not, if it's being effective or not, if they're communicating the right message or not. Whereas when you understand how to do your social media and you decide, I am so sick of this, I'm not doing it, then you can say to someone, right, so here's my standards. I post 3 times a week. On this day, we have this topic. On this day, we have this topic. On this day, we have this topic. I also want you to do some stories and I want you to do this and this and this. If they then are meeting that and it's hitting your goals, rock on. And if they're meeting that and it's not hitting your goals, you can tweak, but you have a standard that you're asking them to do. And that's actually what I did for my receptionist. Now, my receptionist, Janet, still love her to bits. Everyone needs a Janet in their lives, as far as I'm concerned. We had her posting, we actually posted 3 times a day, 7 days a week, because we wanted to test and measure. And we did this for about 4 months. And so I had her creating the content and putting it up on social media. Of her own admission, she was a middle-aged smoker at the time, a reasonably heavy drinker, and never did exercise. So the fact that she was inspiring exceptional health all through our social media was honestly like she was the laughingstock of her friends at times, because they're like, how are you creating this stuff? Because we know you don't live it. But it was because we had such exceptional standards, and I had really clear, this is what we put on, this is not what we put on. And I gave her feedback, particularly as she was starting. It meant I did not sit there and go, oh my God, at 3 o'clock, I haven't done my, I haven't posted my afternoon post yet. Janet would handle it all Tuesday. So by the time she'd finished on Tuesday, everything was scheduled for the whole week, and we were good to go. And it was amazing. And it would really change the way that our social media happened, because she was educated and we had those standards.
Right. And I would say that those people that have a front desk person, absolutely having those standards. And if anyone doesn't have a front desk person and they want to just have someone on Fiverr do it, you do also have that same meeting of the minds through email, sometimes through Zoom, and you're able to say, this is what I want it to look like. This is what I want it to sound like and feel like. This is what we talk about. These are our standards. And either you, Mr. Fiverr, you post this for me 3 times a day, 3 times a week, or I myself will take the genius that you've put up together, which was basically a collaboration of you as a therapist and them as the Fiverr guy, Fiverr girl, and putting that together. And that salon or spa or massage therapist will then take the reins from there and post it. So there's a couple ways to do that. And every person is at a different level to which they could delegate. But one thing I know you and I would agree on that everybody should delegate to is this last one. And it's a big one, but it's funny how most of us still take on that big cape and big girl panties and think we're going to do that too. You remember what that word is?
Which is bookkeeping.
Yes. People don't outsource a bookkeeper or a CPA. And that is so, so important. So why don't you talk a little bit about that? I know for myself, before I say you talk about that, I do have QuickBooks. I do have a bookkeeper. I do have a CPA. They're totally different people. If people aren't sure what they are different roles. And it really helps with tax preparation when you owe your quarterly sales tax or your yearly sales tax. But a lot of times I find people that are just scrambling. It's tax season's coming up and it's like, oh, I'm doing my bookkeeping, and they're inundated in it for like the next 2 months. To catch up so they can pay their bills or their taxes. But that's one of those things where a bookkeeper will stay on it as soon as the month is over. Let's say the past month is over, and just stay on it. And it's such a breath of fresh air because we're creative. We're meant to help people, heal people, help them look and feel beautiful. We may not be mathematicians. We're estheticians is a joke I have with my clients. So I'm not a mathematician. I'm an esthetician. So that's something that we can definitely delegate. And I would love for you to speak on that as well, Alicia.
So for me, I was financially illiterate when I went into business, had no clue, no idea. I wouldn't know what a payable was. I wouldn't know what a receivable was. I just did the old shoebox method, which is where I wrote everything down, put it in a shoebox, and we have our tax season from July to June here in Australia, so it's different to the States. And so what I would do is I'd just take that shoebox with a few things I'd written down with a ledger, like, pencil, to the accountant, and he'd have to figure it out and take him a little while. And then I would be able to know what I'd done wrong 18 months ago, because that's as much information as I could get. And I could only run my business by looking in the revision mirror. Whereas we now use a program called Xero, which is helping us to be able to we can see forward projections. We know exactly where we're at. We know who we have to pay and when, and it's all done. And for me, I had to have someone come in and set that up for me, number one, and then teach me how to use it. What did I need to do? Now, I had another admin girl that would come in on Saturday, and she was also studying accounting. So she was really good with numbers. She could do the rebookings and taking payment at the front desk. And then in between treatments, she would also be reconciling and going, yes, you paid this week, so I'm going to reconcile that to the bank statement, which is all a reconciliation is. So that was kind of getting handled, but I had to, because I had abdicated my responsibility around numbers for so long. And it was like, I just want to help people. I don't want to look at that stuff. And I find so many practitioners, so many therapists are like, I just don't do numbers. It's not my thing. And it's like, if you're running a business, numbers has to be your thing. And you've got to learn to embrace the numbers and stuff. It doesn't mean you have to do the work, but you have to know what it means. What does it cost you to open your doors? What does it cost you what keeps the four walls up? Because you need to know that, or else you're going to get, a big chunk of money into your account at the end of the week. You're going to have, $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000 sitting there, and you're going to go, cool, I'm going to go buy shoes, as opposed to setting money aside for tax and rent and GST and bills and things like that. And so you've got to understand, where does my money go? What am I doing with it? And bookkeeping helps us to know what that is.
Absolutely. I love that you said that, because one of the things that's coming to mind is working with some solo estheticians. They may be at a certain amount that they're making, and they don't know where all their money's going. And I'm like, why are you working so hard? Let's say, yes, you're finally the 6-figure esthetician, right? That magical number that we all want to hit. But you're saying you have no money in your bank. You're saying you have nothing to show for it. You're saying you're not going on a couple of vacations a year. You're saying all these things to me, and you really know that you're not just like blowing it gambling. So, having them get down to a bookkeeper and finding out exactly where's all the fat, and cutting off the fat and really streamlining what they should be spending, getting them on a system. I just did this with one of our clients in Colorado, but it was so eye-opening to find out, wow, by getting all this stuff over to a bookkeeper and finding out exactly what categories these things were going, we were able to cut off the fat. And she was able to have a system in place to where she knows exactly, okay, instead of just going crazy, at Costco and spending all this extra money on gloves and goodies, which was kind of what happened to be part of the story. We're like, okay, well, what's a really good number that how many boxes of gloves or things you really need this month, instead of like going crazy every month when you have a surplus of them, in your closet. Certain things like that sound so funny, but whether it's their retail back bar and they're constantly buying and they're not selling out what they have on their shelves, there's so many holes in the boat, so to speak. So they have all this money coming in, but it's going right out the bottom, or they feel like they're flooding and they're drowning. And it's like working with people like you and I that have that coaching and that accountability that really help make things really smart and simple and streamlined, so that every area of their life makes sense and has balance and freedom and fun.
And that's the point to outsourcing everything. If you've outsourced your towels or linen, you can outsource your cleaning, you can outsource your social media, and we can outsource our bookkeeping. Like, it really does create that beautiful, beautiful amount of balance in our lives. And it's about choice. We can choose to spend money and to buy back our time, or we can choose to spend our time doing that stuff. But I think that's the really important lesson, is that it's about choice, and we can choose to do these things in a way that works and serves us in our lives. So
that's right.
Thank you for an amazing conversation today. It's been great to be able to connect. And we look forward to speaking to you guys again soon.
Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
This podcast was brought to you by Coach Adina Wagner from Clients on Repeat and Alicia Crook from Massage Champions. For more information, you can visit adinawagner.com and massagechampions.com for more secrets on the art of growing a successful spa and massage business. Thanks again for listening to our show. Please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. We'll catch you in the next episode.